This is the August 22nd Board of Education meeting. I am Cynthia Elliott, President of the Rochester Board of Education. We're going to call our meeting to order, and I'm going to ask a volunteer, Commissioner Santel, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, so would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely.
All right, so if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. We'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is our board upcoming events, and I'm going to turn that over to our board clerk, Rahima Nguyen.
Thank you,
Ms. Nguyen?
President Elliott. Commissioners, staff, community, and families, for the month of September, the board will convene on Tuesday, September 3rd, with the first CIGR meeting of the year. And that meeting will commence at 6 p.m. The following week, on Tuesday, September 10th, at 6 p.m., we'll start with the ESA committee, followed by a special meeting for the consideration of resolutions. On September 17th, also at 6 p.m., we will host the HC Committee, which is Human Capital. And then we'll close the month out with our business meeting on Thursday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. I will also note that next Tuesday, August 27th, we will have the first planning meeting with the search firm Hazard, Young & Etta, who is leading and supporting the superintendent search. That meeting will also be live streamed, and it will start at 6 p.m. All board meetings are held at 131 West Broad Street here in the conference room 3A3B. You may view the board calendar at rcsdk12.org/BOE calendar. Any individual who wishes to speak at a board meeting may do so by contacting the Board of Education office by noon on the day of the meeting, either calling at 262-8525 or emailing boardofelducation@rcsdk12.org. When registering to speak, you must provide the following information: your name, telephone number, email address, home address, and affiliation, as well as the topic that you wish to speak on. Individuals who do not reside in the city of Rochester do not have the privilege of speaking at meetings, except when this is granted by the chair of the meeting in which you are requesting to speak. Each registered speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes, and any speakers utilizing translation services would be allowed up to 6 minutes for their speech. Additionally, the board continues to seek candidates for parent representatives and student community representatives. You may go to www.rcsdk12.org/BOE rep to find more information, including the application, which can be submitted online. Thank you, President Elliott.
Thank you. And I want to read a statement before we get into the regular part of our business. The board expects district officials and the public to conduct themselves and speak in a respectful and courteous manner so as to model proper civility and decorum for students. Shouting, personal insults, vulgarity, profanity, attacks, revealing information prohibited by law, or any conduct that disrupts the flow of business is considered to be out of order. The board may, among any other steps available pursuant to law, take the following actions during the meeting to maintain a fair and efficient meeting: interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement exceeds allotted time, is personally directed, abrasive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when that individual, whether in person or virtually, does not observe reasonable decorum or the conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Call for a recess or any adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to the warrant of such action. All right, and then we will go down to the approval of the minutes. Do we have any minutes at this point? No minutes, all right. And then there's no speakers? No speakers, I'll say, because we'll go down to advisory reports, and it looks as if we have not a student advisory report, nor a parent leadership report, nor a bilingual report, and the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. There is a report submitted, but it would not be read at this time. And so the next item on the agenda is we need to go into an executive session, and I'm going to ask for a motion to convene to discuss collective bargaining negotiations, discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment status of a specific individual or corporations, and pending or current litigation with the general counsel. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will adjourn for an executive session, and we will return as soon as that executive session is over. Thank you. Good evening again. We have reconvened from our executive session, and so we will continue with the agenda. And the next item on the agenda is the board reports. And so I'm going to, we do have an ESA report. Commissioner Simmons is not here, so that report will be online. We also have a finance report, and Vice President LeBron is not here, but I will just summarize the report in her stead. We reviewed the committee's purpose and 2024-25 work plan. We were privileged to have with us the Rochester Joint Construction Board's chairman, former Mayor Tom Richards, to present the FMP Phase 3. And we're excited about that. We talked about the fourth quarter Medicaid compliance report. That was, it is available on board docs. And then Acting CFO Derek Blair presented the unaudited August 2024 financial report, and it was moved over to, we approved it to vote on it this evening. And so the next meeting of the in-person Finance Committee is October 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. That concludes that report. And then,
We need
yes,
a motion to accept the financial report.
all right. So can I get a motion to approve the district's unaudited August 2024 financial report?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. All in favor?
Aye.
Let me just go back. Any questions or comments on that? All right. Any nays? All right, thank you. And so the next report is the President's report. Let me just start off by saying we are at a,
President,
do we have a policy committee? Sorry, Commissioner Griffin, I overlooked your report.
Good evening, everyone. The Policy Committee met as a committee of the whole on Tuesday, August 6, 2024. During this meeting, the board reviewed and accepted the June 4th, 2024 policy of the COW meeting minutes. General Counsel Neal presented the NYSBA policy recommendation, NYSBA, policy recommendations update for the 2023-2024 installment. Senior Research Analyst Travis provided an update on the status of the Code of Conduct Committee, including it being scheduled to resume in October. At this time, my fellow commissioners and I, both superintendents, BEC, PLAC, CPAC, SLC, ASAR, Bente, RAP, and RTA have all been contacted to appoint individuals for the Code of Conduct Committee by September 19th, 2024, in accordance with the resolution number 2022-23:13. Senior Research Analyst Travis presented policy updates to policies 0110, 4205, 4206, 5000, 5153, 6000 through 6240, 9110, which the board reviewed and forwarded out of the policy committee to tonight's business meeting, excluding policies 5153 and 9110. The board also reviewed and discussed Policy 23, Exhibit 23-E4, and School Board Part 1 Policies 2000 through 2111.1, which were forwarded out of the Policy Committee to tonight's business meeting. The next policy of the COW meeting is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024.
Commissioner Griffin, and then there's a President's report. I'll start off by welcoming all of our staff and students back for the 24-25 school year. I'm looking forward that this is going to be a great year. We're moving, year after year, we're improving in this district, and I'm excited to say that. And I don't believe that this will be a year that we would regress. I think we're going to move we're going to move forward on behalf of our children and families who are in this district. I believe that this is going to be a district that the community is going to be extremely proud of at some point, and so I'm looking forward to that. So welcome our students, welcome our staff. We are here to support you, and where we could say yes, we will say yes. Where we can't, we got to let you know why we can't do it. But we want you to succeed, and that means us becoming servant leaders to you in this work that we're doing on behalf of our children and families. And so again, welcome. The Board of Education went through intensive professional development Sunday and Monday in terms of how we govern as a board. And I'm just proud to say, and proud of this board, there was a lot of eyes in terms of, I made the mistake. I made the mistake. And that really warmed my heart, because that says that we can work together and we can move forward. I was so impressed with that. And so I just want to say to my colleagues, I appreciate all the work that you all did in this training, because it was intense, but it showed me that we really do want to work together. So I'm very thankful for you all to be a part of that. And from that training, and you'll hear a lot of this, I know that Commissioner Malloy and Commissioner Patterson talk about this all the time, student outcomes. And what we have told and what will be ingrained in us is that student outcomes only work when student behavior is right, you know, so. Yeah, adult behaviors determine what student outcomes are. And so we want to make sure that as adults, we have an amazing attitude and approach to how we interact with our staff and with our students. So really excited about that. Commissioner Malloy?
Student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors
See
change.
that? That's what I'm
There you
talking
go.
about. She's got it. She's got it. Thank you so much. So that's what we got to do. And you'll hear that if I have to point to Commissioner Malloy or Commissioner Patterson to say that, you know, so I appreciate that. The next item is that we are embarking on our search firm for our next superintendent. The board selected Hazard Young, Atia and Associates as the search firm to support our superintendent search. We invite the community to tune in for the first planning meeting on Tuesday, August 27th at 6 p.m. So looking forward to the community's involvement in that, what they're going to be looking for in a superintendent. So that is forthcoming. On August 26th, I will be joining my colleagues of color for the Monroe County School Board members of color dinner. Those have been rich conversations to hear what some of our members of color have to endure in the county. And I remember just one of our colleagues just really needing to just express what was on her heart, and particularly when you may be just one on the board as a person of color. And on August 29th, I'm proud to say, and here's an opportunity where we're coming together as a board and as a district with our union leadership. And so we're going to be going to dinner, some of us. I'm inviting the union leaders to dinner on my treat, that we're going to dinner. Again, just to work on behalf of children. And I see somebody looking at me over there. I would ignore her right now. But we are going to, you know, how can all of us work together to ensure that the students in this community are successful? So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to those discussions. We've had great relationships all last year, and looking forward to those to continue. I can remember when we didn't. So I'm excited about that, at least me. Let me just put it that way, me and the unions. So I'm excited about that, and just other meetings and things that I've had. So that concludes my report. But again, just welcoming everybody for the new year and the great things that we're going to be able to accomplish. No, because we've got to make a motion to reset the 48-hour rule, so that's going to have to be there, yeah. So, all right. So we will go down to the superintendent's report, and we'll start with Superintendent Strickland.
Good evening, President Elliott, Board Commissioners, students, staff, and the Rochester community. My name is Demario Strickland, Interim Superintendent, and I am here to give you my report for August 2024. We had the Special Olympics at School 5 this summer, where over 300 students who are part of the RCSD's Extended School Year program celebrated. They came from both Edison and John Williams School number 5. The local sports teams came and actually helped facilitate some of the games and activities that they were partaking in. We had a multitude of volunteers. The festivities were all Olympic themed, and there was even an open ceremony and a parade. Just a reminder, the ESY program, short for Extended School Year, is for students in pre-kindergarten through grade 12 with 12-month IEPs, and it supports students in need of continuous learning and engagement to prevent further regression that happens over the summer with many of our students. Data is forthcoming as we have just concluded many of our summer programs, and it will take place at our summer learning presentation. Next, Commissioners, I wanted to give you an update on goal number 1D, which is increase the number of students earning 5 or more credits in 9th grade from 70% in September 2023 to 90% by June 2028. For the 2023 cohort, as of June 2024, we have had a total of 1,625 students that are counted in that cohort. Of those 1,625 students, 1,025 of them, or 63% of them were students with 5 or more credits. The remaining 600, or 36.9, am I talking a little, my bad, or 36.9% of those students had less than 5 credits. This data will hopefully increase. As we have had students in 2023 cohort actually go through summer programs, and out of that 600 students, 560 of those students at least showed up to our summer school programs. Learning this summer for our students have been fun, motivating, and engaging. I've been to many, many schools this summer, getting out and seeing our students. It truly has been a pleasure to share their success stories. We've had an extremely fun group of individuals who performed in Newsies Junior at Monroe High School earlier this month. Students in our Rock City Players program did a fantastic job. I was able to go on Friday night of their performances and just hear how talented they were, their vocals, their acting skills, even when they took their final bows, they're just so dramatic. But it was definitely a great experience. And then finally, I attended the Fisher Showcase on Thursday, August 15th, which we titled Acceleration University for our students in 8Go9. And those students had the opportunity to earn up to 1.5 credits prior to entering their high schools. And they had the pleasure of staying at, again, St. John Fisher, studying on their college campus. And I forgot, they were meeting with the Buffalo Bills. Wanted to provide an update on Goal 2B. By 2028, the district will reduce the percentage of overall out-of-school suspensions to less than 8.5%. Now, while this isn't one of our actual student outcome-focused goals, this perhaps may be one of our guardrails that we actually will consider so that we ensure that we meet the goal of keeping students in school each and every single day. So quickly, to first level set, I want to explain an unduplicated suspension are the number of individual students who have received 1 or more suspensions. Duplicated suspensions are the total number of suspensions. The counts include multiple suspensions of the same student. So this year we had a baseline of 11.6, and this year's goal was to actually get to 10.9% of unduplicated suspensions. For the 2023-2024 school year, we attained our goal of 10.1% of unduplicated suspension, and we are going to continue to hopefully go on a downward trajectory. And our next year's goal, believe it or not, is 10.3%. However, as board commissioners, we do know that we can adjust our goals for our guardrail metrics, and we may want to have something else that we are trying to attain. An update on goal 2C, by 2028, the district will reduce the current chronic absenteeism rate by 25%. So this year's goal was 71.8%. For 2023-2024, we actually came in at 64.8%. Next year's goal, we would like to obtain 68.2% of our students' chronic absenteeism. I have been listening from both the dais and my former seat in this boardroom, and I did want to take the opportunity to explain or give a little bit more information on chronic absenteeism. And here I have a chart on page 10. Yes. Here I have a chart of how chronic absenteeism is measured. So this is based off of 183 school days. There will be adjustments made because high schoolers go to school less time than our elementary students, and we want to give them specialized schedules or specialized charts that go along with the amount of days that they are in school. But we wanted to let families know 183 days present is what we are looking for. You know, we are looking for students to be in school each and every single day. We wanted to show the impact in that being present from 95% or 99% of the time, that is about 9 days absent, and that equates to a half of month of missing school. And that's going to trigger us to start worrying about the student and making chronic absenteeism. We quickly went to a dark red color at 90 to 94%, because if you have missed 18 days or up to 18 days, you have only been present 165 days out of the school year, which equates to missing 1 month of school. That is a serious concern, as we do know that if students are not in school, they are possibly not getting the instruction that they need to be or stay at grade level and further their studies in our classrooms. And then it goes downhill from there. So 89% or less, it continues to be a severe concern. And on this chart, you see we started to actually equate the amount of months that actually equals. And we are putting this out there so that families are aware that we do not need students missing no more than 10% of the school year, because if you do, you will be chronically absent. So next, and for priority 3, in total, there were 125 new employees and service providers who were a part of the orientation at Edison for new educator orientation. I had the pleasure with Dr. Urbanski to address the new employees yesterday and share with them my journey as an educator. The attendees included teachers, counselors, library media specialists, psychologists, social workers, speech and language pathologists. There were many workshops that district department leaders conducted. There were RTA officers, handing out nice goodies, community members, and CIT lead teacher presenters. And I also want to shout out our parent organization, or parent volunteers that came and talked with our educators to give them their plea for how to continue to improve the relationships between our schools and our homes. A successful recruiting event took place at Padilla High School on Wednesday, August 7, where potential applicants were screened and interviewed. And there are additional recruitment events that are coming up in the month of September, including one open to college students on Saturday, September 14th. If you are interested in any of our positions, please visit www.rcsdk12.org/careers. Our district calendar for the 24-25 school year looks absolutely fantastic. There we have captured some great images of our students in action. Our board commissioners actually have one right in front of each and every single one of them. Students are in Eclipse glasses, which happened last year. There's student athletes participating in a variety of sporting events, and our robotics team are featured, just to name a few. Printed calendars are in the mail this week and will arrive in homes before the start of the school year. The digital excuse me. The digital calendar is also posted on our website at www.rcsdk12.org/calendar, and I definitely encourage you to check it out. The Special Education Advisory Council, or CPAC, and our Office of Special Education are hosting the second annual Special Education Resource Fair. Families of children currently receiving special education services and those who may be in need of services are invited to join us on Saturday, September 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at school number 33, which is the Iris Bannister School, which is located at 500 Webster Avenue. Highlights will include visits from the Zoomobile. We will have therapy dogs, a magician, and even an ice cream truck. Community vendors and resources will also be on site. We've wrapped up all of our ARP spending for the 23-24 school year and included it in the closing of that. It concludes our closing of that in the last fiscal year. We are finalizing the last ARP amendment, which will true up actual expenditures and make sure our budget documents are spot on when they are provided to NYSED. Once that is done, we will put together a quarterly report that will cover the actual dollar amounts spent on ARP priorities, the total amount within ARP repurposed for eligible general fund expenditures, a summary of program evaluations, a look at successful programs and how they were scaled for continuation within other funding sources for the 24-25 school year. And now I would like to provide my monthly update on the strides we are making in our Invest in Tomorrow, which is our district's vision for the future. We continue to work on vacancies to fill staff. We continue to work on filling vacancies with certificated staff. Our middle schools are engaging in some amazing bridge weeks. I have also seen some middle schools actually have orientations with their teachers, learning about the expeditionary learning model. Just to name a few of the bridge programs, Andrew Langston Middle School has a bridge program on August 28th. Dr. Freddie Thomas Middle School will have their bridge program August 28th through 30 from 9 to 1 p.m. Loretta Johnson Middle School, which is on Genesee Street, August 30th, and they will have a party in the Lion's Den. So I might have to stop by that, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then finally, Thurgood Marshall School will have theirs on August 30th, which is an all-in-one orientation and a welcome to school giveaway badge with a free shirt for the first 50 students who RSVP. And finally, the school moves and relocation activities are progressing in a great way. Superintendent's Conference Day. This event will be simulcasted on Tuesday, September 3rd Staff all over the district will join their school's community in the auditorium, gymnasium, or library as a collective. There will be opportunities for increased uh, accessibility, convenience, and school-based collaboration by leaving all of the schools to be able to unify together within their own building or own learning communities. This is all about One RCSD. What we are hoping to project is a spirit of unity and shared purpose, setting a positive tone for the school year ahead. And something else that is super exciting, we will hear from none other than Dr. Christopher Emden, professor at Columbia University and creator of Hip Hop Ed social movement, and he will be joining us as our keynote speaker. As a reminder to families, we are excited to welcome all the students to the 24-25 school year on Thursday, September 5th. State Education Commissioner Betty Rosa will be here on the first day of school, visiting 2 of our campuses. I definitely look forward to seeing her and sharing our excitement about this school year. And I just need to give a shout out. The middle picture and the picture on the end are 2 of my friends, and one of my friends I actually got to see today. So kudos to them for making it to my presentation. And that concludes my report for August 2024.
Thank you, Superintendent Strickland. Are there any questions for the superintendent, Commissioner Malloy?
Thank you so much for your presentation and just getting us geared up to the start of the school year. I really like that you incorporated so much of the board goal work in this presentation. I know we've been doing a lot of work the last few days with our new governance model, and it looks like you're already trying to reconcile our academic plan with some of the board goals that were created and the reporting on that data so that we have effective progress monitoring towards those goals over the next 5 years. So kudos, thank you so much. And for the public, I know we're going to be working over the next few months to really restructure a lot of our meeting time and trying to devote at least 50% of what we talk about up here on the dais to these student outcome goals and our progress monitoring towards those goals. And that's the ideal, but I'm really happy to see that you're already kind of encouraging that just in your presentation. And I know President Elliott alluded to this earlier tonight, and I know Vice President LeBron alluded to this in the finance meeting 2 nights ago, just about some of the changes that we can expect. The board is working hard to implement that. I'd love to unpack this data a lot more, especially you reported on the 9th grade cohort. And at some point, I'm sure with our coaches through our governance training, we'll find out how to schedule that unpacking of data so that we could look at the progress we're making towards that goal. I can't remember which slide that was. I think it was slide
4.
Slide 4. All right, so slide 4, and that, of course, is the 4th board goal that we created.
Yes.
So as part of the academic plan, priority area 1, goals 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D are the board goals 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Correct.
Right, so this is really goal number 4.
Absolutely.
For us, about 9th grade cohorts. And what I would love to unpack more, and we're not going to do it tonight, obviously, because this is just a generalized report, but I noticed, I'm looking at the percentages, and our board goal is to increase students earning 5 or more credits in 9th grade from 70% beginning September 2023 to 90% by June 2028. And so it looks like we're a little bit off in, not that we're not making progress towards that goal, but the starting points are much lower. So those might be conversations as we go to look at our interim goals that we're creating, or that you're going to be creating as superintendent, the guardrails that we will be creating. And all of this vocabulary is going to be a lot clearer to the public, I think, over the next few months as well. And then as well as the interim guardrails that you're going to be creating. Do you anticipate that we might need to make some changes to perhaps the goal and those starting percentages?
So I'm going to encourage us not to make changes to the goal. I think it needs to be the expectation that 90% of our 9th graders are getting 5 or more credits by the end of the school year each year. What I will say is that 560 out of the 600 students that had less than 5 credits actually attended summer school. So the hope is that all of those students actually made up the amounts of credits that they need to reach 5 or more. The only thing that I'm worried about are where are those other 40 students that decided not to attend summer school to make up the goals or to make up those credit courses. That's actually what went on my mind once I found out the number of students enrolled, because we are going to have at least 40 out of 1625, potentially more, if 560 of those students may not have passed their exams. That will still be less than 5 credits. And I know that, you know, we must be aspirational, but we need things to be 100%.
Right, and I don't
And-
think we should
yep,
change the 90%
absolutely.
at
Nope.
all, but it's more that the starting point for this particular cohort is well below the 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if that would impact the ability to progress towards that 90% in any way. We'll unpack this
Yep,
further, I'm
of
sure,
course,
later.
of course.
But thank you so much. And I also just wanted to say, finally, all of the other topics that you talked about, whether that was attendance or chronic absenteeism, of course, I love how you spoke about that tonight, because those are the types of things we'll be looking at as a board under our new governance model when we're looking at creation of those guardrails that you talked about or referred to, as well as the interim goals and interim guardrails. So all in all, thank you so much. It's kind of pushing us in that right direction to continue the professional development, the intense professional development that we underwent on Sunday and Monday of this week, and looking forward to seeing where this goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, I just wanted to very, very quickly ask, first of all, thank you for sharing the data. It's also good to see some progress in those areas. I do want to ask a question on if you plan to create new interim goals, because I see in some of the slides, we're currently at 10.1%, but you're saying next year's goal is 10.3%, which looks like an increase to me. And then also for chronic absenteeism, we're currently at 64.8%, but the next year goal is 68.2%. And so I'm wondering, because that looks like we're going backwards, so are you planning to create new interim goals?
So you want chronic absenteeism to go down. You want, just a moment, you were on the first one. You want your suspension numbers to go down. You want your chronic absenteeism numbers to go down. What happens is we actually exceeded next year's goal. So because you want to be in a constant state of continuous development or continuous improvement, we may need to adjust the interim goals so that we continue to make even more progress. So for instance, this year we're at 10.1%. We had already had some benchmarkers in our strategic plan showing that we were going to meet that 10.3% would be the number for next year. So since we're at 10.1%, we've already exceeded next year's goals. There's a possibility we may want to try to figure out how we can continue to bring that number down so that our schools are our students are in school each and every single day.
No, that's good. I was just asking because, you know, we see, but the plan is to create more new interim goals with the new changes.
That's a big time possibility. That's the purpose of, you know, continuous improvement, is that once you exceed a goal, you have to continue to adjust.
Okay, and I was just asking that because I see on the slides here that was presented to the public, you know, there may be some confusion there as far as the percentages and next year goals. So I just wanted to make sure that was covered. And I also love to see, you know, in the upcoming months, your plan of strategy to achieve these next year goals, to make it to those goals. Because it's great to see the data, but what's the plans? It's good to see the goals, but what's the plans for next year? And so I'd love to see that, so thank you.
Noted.
So just want to just congratulate the interim superintendent and his staff, and even our former superintendent around the work that you all have put in order to exceed the goals, some of the goals here. So thank you all for all of the great work that you've done so far. Any other questions for the superintendent? All right, thank you. So the next presentation is Superintendent Blocker.
Good evening, President Elliott, Commissioners, and the Rochester community. I wanted
Okay. Super, can we stop yours for a minute, because I forgot the Oracle presentation from the Superintendent Strickland. So we're going to hear a
Yes.
Oracle presentation.
Just quick, on Tuesday, President Elliott asked for an update for Oracle, so this was not with you within the 48 hours, but we did want to make sure that we complied, and we have Mr. Vivek online to quickly present, and then I just wanted to introduce one last member of my staff, and then we can go on to Superintendent Blocker.
Sorry about that. Superintendent. Looks like the Matrix.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Superintendent Strickland, respected President Elliott, Commissioners Griffin, Malloy, Patterson, and Santiago, Superintendent Blocker, and our State Monitor, Jaime. Thank you for the opportunity to present some updates around the Oracle Fusion Business Transformation Program that we've been on. This is a status report as of our ELT meeting on the 20th. And I'd like to just walk through some of the progress that we've been making there. First, to just set the stage, since this is the first time we are presenting in this format to the board and the public, I just wanted to provide some context. This is our program structure. We're essentially running 6 projects under a single overarching business transformation program for Oracle Fusion. Obviously, this is completely overhauls from the ground up several of our business enterprise processes and applications to support a transition from PeopleSoft into a modern application stack within the cloud, which is the Oracle Fusion product. We are obviously supported by all our chiefs on the business operations side, including Dr. Miller, Glenn Vanderwater, Superintendent Strickland, Derek, our new interim CFO, and Mike Mahaney on the budgeting side. We are working with our vendor partners with Oracle Consulting Services, as well as Cherry Road Technologies for our contingent workers to be able to deliver on this project for our organization. As you can see, we have 6 projects, namely ERP, which is core finance, EPM, enterprise performance management, which is primarily our forecasting and budgeting utility, payroll, HCM, or professional learning and technology. So, based on the project charter, these are some key objectives, strategic objectives of the program that the program intends to deliver under these 6 projects. Obviously, through the State Monitor's findings a few years ago, we want to upgrade our existing financial management system to improve data and reporting accuracy. We want to implement more controls over load and access to sensitive data so that we have a better audit compliance. We want to obviously create efficiencies by eliminating and reducing the manual processes that we have currently at our district, thereby freeing up time for more strategic and tactical assistance for our staff members who support our students. We want to reduce paper transactions with our staff and other partners, thereby increasing data accuracy and fidelity. We also want to create a more user-friendly experience for our end users and end staff members and our vendor partners as well that interact with us. We also, through this initiative, want to bring in a much more comprehensive employee self-service utility and portal, including HR help desk, so that they can better understand the benefits and opportunities within the organizations for both, talent growth and ability to understand their benefits. We also want to standardize and improve business processes to align with industry best practices, eliminate redundancies internally and cross-functionally, and create efficiencies within the organization through the delivery of this transformation program. And also build a whole slew of reports and dashboards on top of some of these new business processes so that as an organization, right from leadership to department managers, there's access to key performance indicators and better access to reports and data for data-driven decision making. We also want to make sure by moving to the cloud, we want to minimize system closeout or delays for updates with working with our partners for a 99.9% uptime guarantees. So that just gives us, a better outlook in terms of customer support for our end users. Like I mentioned, even though we have 6 projects, there are 3 broad products that we are implementing. The first one being EPM that goes live first around October. It's called Enterprise Performance Management. This is our budgeting and planning, budgeting and forecasting tool. If you look at the way we are measuring progress, we are dividing them into 6 broad categories: design and configuration, integrations, conversions, reports, testing, and training. Design and configuration is nothing but creating an architecture within the product and changing parameters within the product to meet our needs, whether our obligations to the state, whether our obligations to our stakeholders, just making sure the application is geared towards how we want to utilize the application. Integrations are nothing but exchanges of data between the application and other external applications and other applications, internal applications within the district. So like SmartFind, for example, and Oracle Fusion. So any of our subs and time entry, that data comes to Oracle Fusion and we share data out to SmartFind, just as an example. Data conversions, obviously, we are coming from a legacy application of PeopleSoft that's served us for over 20 years. There's a considerable amount of legacy data that needs to be converted and moved into the future application within Oracle Fusion. And so there are certain measurements around that as well. Reports are basically any reports that are built that are necessary for operational readiness or for analytical necessities to make decisions. Testing is a mechanism used within the delivery process to be able to assess the top 4 things, right? Design, integrations, conversions, and reports, to make sure that it passes a rigorous functional and technical filter to make sure that what we do go live within July of 2025, is really valuable to our organization and can help us move forward and be more efficient. Training are some of the tools that we're putting in place to make sure that all our end users and our internal departments are ready and able to use this new product, because it is a big paradigm shift for our organization. So from that perspective, for EPM, for design and configuration, we're almost done since we're going live in October. From an integrations perspective, we are halfway there. Conversions is about 100%. So we already have a mechanism to convert legacy data. Reporting, these are the current reports that are on docket to be done, and we're at about 66% completion. From a testing perspective, we have about 76 business scenarios that need to be tested. We have 76 that are planned for UAT in our upcoming testing cycle, so that stays at 0%. We will update that once testing is complete in terms of what the percentage of success for that was. Switching to ERP, which is our enterprise resource planning software, this is kind of the backbone of the financial. This is the software that's going to be our financial backbone, essentially working with various departments within the financial organization under the leadership of Derek, which is basically general ledger, accounting, accounts receivable, expenses, procurement, so on and so forth. Again, we have the same exact structure from design to training, and it shows you some percentages in terms of completion and where we are, moving ahead, where we are, what we are continuing to work on. So just to call out a few specific things, we have 273 design and configuration elements that were identified based on our requirements from the product and through our organizational requirements. About 249 of them have been built, 24 are in progress, and we are at about 91% completion there. For our integrations for data interchange, we have 10 on the docket for that. We have 2 that are built, 8 that are pending, so with a 20% completion. And conversions, we have 13 conversions, data conversions that have been identified. 6 have been completed, 7 are in progress for a 46% conversion at the moment. From a reporting perspective, we have 22 reports that have been identified as operational reports this far. 3 have been built, 17 are in progress, and 2 are pending that have not been started yet. From a testing portfolio standpoint, we have 273 total business scenarios that need to be tested. 103 of them have already been configured, designed, and configured. We are on track to test all 273, including some retests from the previous testing cycle, to start the second week of September. The training plan is still forthcoming, and we will update statistics as soon as that's available. Switching to the HCM component, we have 2,049 business scenarios in terms of requirements that were identified for the organization. About 1,831 of them have been built, 218 are in progress with an 89% completion. Integrations are 40, out of which 23 are in progress, 17 have been built for a 43% completion rate. Conversions are at 96% completion, 84 total, 81 done, 3 are in progress currently. From a reporting perspective, we have 77 reports of operational reports that were identified. 49 have been built, 28 in progress, and 60 with a 64% completion. Out of the 2,049 business scenarios identified, 533 have been earmarked for our PP3P testing for the configurations that are built, and we are probably going to be testing about 511. So again, we will report out once PP3 is complete. PP3B is slated to start the second week of September, and will run about 4.5 weeks going into early October. Be completed. Training plan, we are just beginning ramping up our organizational change management team, and that will help with building an individualized training plan for different members in our department, and a more comprehensive brown bag type training, train the trainer plan for our end users and staff members. This is just a quick visual representation from a timeline perspective on the journey we are on. As you can see, this is our current focus. Our current focus, as I mentioned, is for PP3B, which basically stands for Process Playback 3B, which is just a window in time for which we get together as a team and test all the functionality that we've built until that point. So we are in the midst of that for ERP and HCM. And on EPM, we have transcended that piece, and we are actually in UAT prep, working on UAT. And once we finish that, we will go into actually doing the UAT, then do a production cutover environment build, and finally be ready to go live towards the middle to end of October. After this current focus, this is our next focus, basically, which is for HCM and ERP, is the systems integration test and end-to-end testing, which is when all the different applications that have been built are brought together and tested end-to-end. So basically, right from recruiting all the way to benefits management, to retirees, to terminations, to payroll, to actual financial reporting on obligations through payroll, all of that, the entire whole 9 yards of those connecting strings are going to be tested through systems integration testing. So that's slated to begin end of September and finish late January, early February, after which we start to focus on payroll parallel testing. And then before we finish payroll parallel testing, we go into our user acceptance tests, and we'll continue to report on that. So that's the plan. That's the plan for the next 4 to 6 months here. This is kind of the organizational change management plan. We have started to onboard our organizational change management team. Obviously, since this is a very large business transformation program that literally impacts every employee in our organization, and not only our employees, but our vendor partners and agencies that we work with. And it's going to be a slight change in expectations and change in business processes. We want to make sure that we start readying for that right now. So we have an 11-month sprint that has already begun, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So we are trying to, build all the collateral that's necessary to make sure that once the application is live, we are positioned for the best success with the adequate training in place. Below that, you can see our deployment schedule for the entire plan. I know that I went through quite a few things, and there are maybe some terminologies that you folks may not be, fully aligned with. So I've just put in some key definitions here, and if you can, if feel free to, go through this as well. With that, I'd like to turn it over back to Rahima. Thank you for the opportunity again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. If I just want to open it up if anybody has any questions. Commissioner Malloy?
Thank you to President Elliott for asking for this presentation. I think a lot of us were curious to see how the work has been coming along. Thank you so much for the presentation tonight. There is a lot of information here, and I think this is a stark reminder for all of us that, well, first of all, for me at least, that I don't have to do any of this, because this is a massive, to put it lightly, undertaking for this district. Way above my pay grade. So thank you for all the work that's been done, and hoping we have a more efficient system in place that makes people's lives easier. So thank you.
Any other questions? I have a couple of questions. In looking at the report, it seems as if some of the key metrics have not been met. And just if you can tell me a little bit about, and this is more so around integrations and reports, those numbers seem to be a little bit lower. Can you explain that, expound on those a little bit for us?
Sure, President Elliott. So basically, from an integrations perspective, we set ourselves certain goals. So if you look at the chronology of activities, right? So you focus on design and configurations first, then you move to integrations and reports. So if you look at the life cycle of the entire project, you want all of your integrations to be done before what we call the SIT process, which is the systems integration test process. So that's really the litmus test for making sure our integrations are done. So our short-term goal for PP3B is to be anywhere between 60 and 80% on our integrations. And I think we are confident that we'll hit the lower mark of that goal. There's a ton of work yet to be done there. And I think you have rightly identified that is one of our risk areas, but that's something that we are closely monitoring from the program, and are quite confident that before we enter SIT, we should be able to meet our obligations to be at about 100% for all our integrations.
So when do we anticipate this being live?
So our go live date officially is July of 2025. We don't have a specific date right now. We are building what we call a cutover plan. So which means we will not change overnight. It'll be a several day cutover, and there are several. Our cutover plan right now, if you can believe it, is about 1,600 lines long. So each line is an activity that needs to be performed by different members within either our organization or our implementation partners. So that's what we are building up, and we are verifying and re-verifying. So we have a couple of rounds before we get to go live. We are 11 months away from go live at this point. We have 2 more testing life cycles to do before we get to go live. After 3 more, actually, including PP3B. PP3B, like I said, starts end of September, goes into October. Then immediately after that, we are gearing up for systems integration testing, which starts the middle of December and goes into early December and goes into early February. After which we go into user acceptance testing, where we open up the application to a wider gamut of users from the user community. So we will actually, through the organizational change management process, identify champions to be part of the user acceptance testing, who will then, kind of put the application through its paces, make sure the SOPs are good. There's a whole array of tests that we need to run that are slightly different from what we do right now. And then after that, we get into go live. So there's plenty of time from that perspective to make sure that we are, all done with our integrations and reports. That's why you see a lower percentage there, President Elliott.
Thank you. So just one last question to summarize this. This system is to put all of our business systems in one place. Am I correct? Or most of them, like HR and finance and whatever other systems that we have, this will all be contained in the Oracle system, correct? Or am I?
That is accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is what we call a whole cloth solution. So basically, all of the systems will talk to each other, and they're all on one platform now. So before, our recruiting used to be on another platform. Right now, it's all going to be integrated. Our professional learning used to be on another platform. That's going to be part of Oracle right now. Even between HR and finance, even though they were both PeopleSoft, they were actually 2 different application servers running as 2 individual applications trying to talk to each other. They're all going to be using the same foundation. So we're building a very broad-based foundation on which we're building all of our business enterprise needs within the application, within the Oracle Fusion platform, essentially.
Well, thank you. I know this is a humongous amount of work, but I have another commissioner that has a question. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, very quickly, just wondering, what are we doing in regards to cybersecurity? I know that this has been an issue around the country, so we want to make sure that the information of our staff are safe.
Glad you asked that question. So we're doing several things. The first good thing about going to a cloud application like this is it comes with a SOX compliant best practice role matrix, right? So today, if you notice our internal applications, we build our own security portfolio. So when you go into the cloud for a standard application like this, they come out of the box with what is called best practice roles across the board. So we're in the process of fitting those application roles, best practice roles, with our employees and the roles that they play within the organization. So that's step one. Step two, just in terms of core security, we are building, I mean, this entire application is going to be under the cloud and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. But even though it's in the cloud, the access to the application is going to be secured through our network, which means nobody outside our network will be allowed to access the application.
Thank you.
Makes sense. So yeah, so it's going to be firewalled through our network.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Oh, you got to introduce yourself.
Yep, just not
Thank you.
last but not least, and thank you, Superintendent Blocker, for bearing with us. I wanted to introduce one of our newest school chiefs, Miss Donna Lucy Lender. If you want to stand up really quick, say a few words to everyone, and yes, come to the mic. Yeah. And she is the new chief for Network One, which encompasses our middle schools and a few additional high schools.
Okay, I think we're a go. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Donna Lucy Lender, and I am the proud network chief, chief of schools of Network One. I'm really excited about the work here in Rochester and working with our students. And the staff has been amazing in terms of welcoming me, and I'm looking forward to meeting each of you individually. So I've been an educator for almost 20 years in urban, suburban, and rural school environments. Education is my passion, and I'm looking forward to serving our students and families with integrity, transparency, and just with the love of learning and support. So thank you for welcoming me to the district.
Thank you. All right, so I know Superintendent Blocker, that was pretty long, but thank you for being patient with us.
Good evening, President Elliott, commissioners in the Rochester community. I wanted to start tonight off with 3 quotes that summarize some of our summer off-site experiences. I did not know what I even did not know. I thought GPA meant grade point average, but it also means gigapascals or units of pressure within the international system. And third, no book could have ever taught me this. I loved being in the lab. Scholars from East and other RCSD schools had the chance to participate in some very challenging programs this summer. I went and listened to each of their culminating poster sessions and was completely in awe of how they assimilated so easily to the environment they were in and how they spoke the language of the professionals they were surrounded by, and how they could express their deep appreciation for the opportunities that they had. The first program was called the Broad Exposure to Science and Technology, and scholars from East, World of Inquiry, Early College, and Young Women's College Prep were involved in designing opportunities for seniors to explore their curiosity, nurture their pursuit of STEM fields, and encourage them to pursue options that students are not typically exposed to in our K through 12 environment. This program was meant to support the training of the next generation of the U of R Lab for Laser Energetics and STEM majors. Some career examples that our scholars worked upon were optical testing and design, holography, liquid crystals, magnetic field and motors, and computer programming. The second program was called Neuro East, where East and RCSD scholars conducted research with students in the U of R School of Medicine. Listen to some of these titles of examples of research. Fruit fly neural circuit mechanisms and feeding behaviors, advancing imaging through researching specialized junctions between neurons, glowworm research for novel gene-based therapies to patients with rare conditions, and the role of inflammatory leukocytes in vascular injury and HIV, to name just a few. As I stood at these poster presentations, I was finding myself thinking, I think I'm in a different world, because the language that the scholars were using was not something typical. The third program was the Physics Research Program, where scholars had the opportunity to work in the physics lab at the U of R and at RIT. They spent 4 weeks doing research in quantum computing, modeling astronomical collisions, and characteristics of organic molecules under extremely high pressures. The scholars conducted experiments, learned coding, and then they presented their findings. Their confidence and excitement was contagious. The last program was for our scholars to do a career exploration internship program at URMC, where they worked in imaging sciences. They each focused on different areas of choice after having a basic overview of many fields. They centered their work on brain tumors, interventional radiology, sonography, mammography, ultrasound, nuclear medicine, and lung cancer. This was a great opportunity this summer for so many different scholars from RCSD to have exposure and to thrive. The next slide represents data where East is compared to some of the priorities that have been set by the RCSD. The first one has to do with 8th graders, relates to priority 1D, and it shows that in 22-23, we had 232 scholars that earned high school credits while in 8th grade, and we had 225 credits that were earned this past year. For 9th grade in the priority 1D for scholars to earn 5 credits, we had 73% last year that earned 5 or more. This year we had 75.6%. For suspensions that were out of school, last year our lower school had 106, this year 104, and our upper school had 151, and that was down to 38. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out how we could have scholars come into the building for at least a few hours to get direct instruction if they were suspended, where typically they would have just been suspended out of school and stayed home the entire day. And then last, the chronic absenteeism. Our lower school was 52%, and it has gone up to 61%, which is not good. We're recognizing that absenteeism, as Superintendent Strickland said, continues to be a problem for our scholars. For our upper school, it was 59.7% last year, and up a small percentage to 60.1% this year. As we move forward, updates will come for 9th grade credit accrual of 5 or more after summer school, as Dr. Strickland talked about. Cohort 2020 graduation rate after we have our August graduation. Our professional learning week for East staff has been taking place right now, and I will have updates for that. New teacher professional learning, the summer 24 graduation rates, and that will take place, the ceremony, on August 27th. And we are going to have our back-to-school barbecue on August 29th, next Thursday at 5 p.m. All of you are welcome to join us at the East Community. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Blocker. Any questions for Superintendent Blocker? Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, just very quickly want to give applause, to your data updates. It's great to see, 8th graders getting over 225 credits, in the last school year for, those are high school credits, am I
High
correct?
school credits.
Yeah, so that's great to see. And
25, is it, this number of students, right?
is it the
Number of
of
credits.
Number of credits. I was right. So it's great to see, the 8th graders getting involved in that. And I hope that, the district also, that we're ensuring that our 8th graders are having those opportunities to get credits, in their 8th grade year, which will help us out, when we're looking at our goals for the 9th grade year. So thank you, thank you for the presentation. And also, again, I hope as the transition with East is happening, that some of these partnerships with U of R doesn't end. I know that we've had a conversation about that. But again, all these summer programs is great to see. The exposure that the young people are receiving is great to see. And so I hope that doesn't leave in the transition.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Commissioner Patterson?
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations on the ninth graders I see here. I don't want to be repetitive, but the credits as of June, right? The 5+ credits, and the percentages there from 73% to 75.6%. So you should be applauded for that, you and your entire staff. What I question, and hopefully you can supply me with a response here, is the upper school. When I see total suspensions that are at 151, and those go all the way down to 38, that's troublesome for me to see that much of a drastic change. So you mentioned something about some of the students coming back to assist you.
Right.
Or
What I was indicating was, in the past, for an out-of-school suspension, we would have simply issued an out-of-school suspension, and the scholars would have had to do work on their own at home. Now we have started to offer 2 hours where they'll come in and do work for 2 hours, or 2 hours where they can do work through Zoom with our in-school suspension person, so they have direct support for the lessons that are provided through Google Classroom. So it does look like a drastic drop. That drastic drop means they were not put out of school for the entire day completely. And it's something we're continuing to try to refine to make sure when our kids have some consequences for choices they make, that we're not impeding their ability to still be successful academically.
Thank you.
All right, so just to piggyback on what Commissioner Patterson said, that is a huge decrease in the number of suspensions from 151 in 2022, 23 to 38 in 23, 24. That just shows the work that was done with the leadership over and in the upper schools. So they did a lot of work around reducing those numbers. So that's amazing. Thank you all for that. Commissioner Malloy?
Yeah, thank you so much for this presentation. It's so nice to see, similar to what Commissioner Santiago said, that many opportunities available to our scholars, and hope to see that continue over the years. And I love that so many students across the district were able to participate in that, not just the East students. And so I love that we're taking these best practices from East and kind of merging them with the rest of the district. And we see that even in this presentation tonight. It looks like there was collaboration here between you and our superintendent on which priority areas to report out on. And so to see this, it's really, I'm feeling very optimistic moving forward, and I love the communication, so keep that up. And the suspension data, very impressed by that. I would love to unpack this in more detail and look at some of those strategies that were used to get to that decrease. And then also just how chronic absenteeism has been addressed by the East community. Culture is contagious, we know from East, and these are the types of decreases that we want to see district-wide. So thank you again for your presentation, and it's very informative. And as we go towards progress monitoring of our 4 main goals, thank you for addressing our 4th goal tonight, and then some of those other areas as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Griffin?
Thank you. I too commend you. It speaks student outcomes, student outcomes, student outcomes. Coming from the old school here in Rochester, and I often will reflect on that. I actually was one of those good students that was in the class was in the rooms with the in-school suspension kids, and I was a kid myself, but I was a scholar. So it's important that we know where our children are. And I think by you reaching out and making sure that the children are still learning, although they have done something they should not have done, is key to keep them engaged in education, because I can recall that's what we did back years ago. So going back and bringing that back into the district and into your school setting is ideal, to know where our kids at all times, and the parents don't have to worry about them running the streets or not knowing where they are, period. So I applaud you in that, and I would beg that others would follow that, so that we know where our children are and we don't have to worry about them committing crimes or being injured and their parents being caught because they don't know where they are. Again, student outcomes. Thank you.
So I have one question. Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. With regard to the lower school, the chronic absenteeism, what strategies are we putting in place, Superintendent Block, in order to be able to, that surprises me, because I would think that in the lower school, they would be more in attendance, and your upper school they've also got a issue with chronic absenteeism as well. But we sort of expect that, but it surprised me with the lower school. Can you comment on that?
I can comment only to say that we're deeply disappointed and searching for answers. When we have met with NYSED representatives through receivership, we have asked them to lead us toward any other school districts in New York that are doing some different practices. We had the U of R do some research on what are best practices to increase attendance. I don't have an answer for it. I feel like we reach out. I feel like we do home visits. I strongly feel at East that we connect with individual kids and we know them by name and face, but it is still a great challenge. And I think the kids that we often read about in the paper that are aged 12 to 14 is that same group of kids in middle school that we're really starting to lose in a sense, and we have to figure out a way how we can bring them back into the educational fold so they can be productive members.
I don't know if you can answer this now, but what are parents saying? How are they responding to this?
They're doing the best they can.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna ask for a motion. I want to move around, move to the top, resolution, I believe it's 200. But first, I need a motion, and General Counsel, if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. A motion to waive the requirements of the 48-hour submission rule required by the board bylaws, policy 2300, for resolutions numbers 20, 24, 25, 200, 201, and 202. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Griffin, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments with regard to that? So be it. So we'll move resolution, I'll ask for a motion for resolution 200.
Do we have to vote first?
What do I have to vote for?
Excuse me, did the
we
board
do
vote on
the
the
vote?
motion to waive?
Yes.
voted.
And we vote?
Yeah, vote on the
Okay.
motion to waive the 48-hour rule first,
right,
and then
and
you
then we
can
vote.
introduce the motion, yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you for that. I told you to keep it straight. Yeah. So, Is there a motion for Resolution 200?
So moved?
It's moved by Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to Resolution 200?
I would like to quickly see if I could take a point of privilege to invite the Bente president to speak about the feedback that he's gotten from his union members regarding this contract before we take a vote.
Good evening, is it on? Good evening, President Elliott, Board Commissioner, Superintendent Strickland. We have gotten a lot of positive feedback. We held our ratification Tuesday evening. We had 90% approval of the new agreement between Bente and the Rochester City School District.
Well, we thank you very much for that. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, ayes have it, unanimous. Yep. Just want to appreciate you appreciating, the employees who tend to be at the lower salary, but, right in the trenches. And so we just want to thank you for taking care of them. Thank you so very much. All right, we'll move back up to, and if my colleagues don't mind, we will do some bundling, if you all right with that? All right, seems like, and before we do that, one of the things I'd like to do is to read our board goals. So I'll read those, and then we'll go into the consideration of other resolutions. Increase the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 who are proficient on the New York State ELA assessment from 16% in September 2023 to 40% in June 2028. All students reading by third grade, increase the percentage of students proficient on the third grade New York State ELA from 15% in September 2023 to 50% in June 2028. Increase the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8 who are proficient on the New York State math assessment from 14% in September 2023 to 40% by June 2028. And lastly, increase the number of students earning 5 or more credits in ninth grade from 70% in September 2023 to 90% by June 2028. And we purpose to reach those goals. So can I have a motion for resolutions 153 through 167?
Motion.
Second?
Second, moved by. Excuse me? Okay. Moved by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. Is that Malloy? Okay, all right. Any questions or comments related to that? I think this is where you.
Yes, I need to put a change on the floor for resolution number 158, line 2. It should be acting in front of principal, and there should be no end date.
All right. Any other questions or comments related to resolutions 153 through 167? Do we need to make a motion on that?
That's right. So that
For that
is a
specific
motion to,
resolution?
yep, motion
As
to amend.
amended.
Exactly. Motion to amend Resolution
Okay.
158 as superintendent indicated. And so you would vote on that. And once confirmed, then you can go back and vote on the block again.
All right, so is there a motion for resolution 158 as amended?
To amend.
To amend, yep.
To amend?
Yep.
Excuse me.
So moved?
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to resolution 158 as amended? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so we can get back to resolutions 153 through 167, including 158 as amended. All in favor?
Aye. Very nice.
Did I do that?
Oh, that was good.
I did that? You did. All right, thank you. Any opposed? All right. EPO resolutions, is there a motion for resolutions 168 through 171?
So moved?
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 168 through 171? Commissioner Malloy?
Just one comment on 168. This tonight will be a no for me, but should this resolution be brought back before us at a later time or even next week, it would be a yes. What I really would like to see in this is I want to ensure that there are listed deliverables as well as how we will be, the metrics we're going to be using to look at those deliverables. Other than that, this looks like a great organization, but I'd just like to have more details around that.
All right, any other questions or comments related to resolutions 168 through 171? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And,
Aye to all except for 168 for me.
and they all passed. Thank you. Is there a motion for resolutions 172 through 175, including resolution 2022-23-818 and resolution 2023-24 886?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy. Is there a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 172 through 175, including resolutions 2022-23-818 and 2023-24 886? Commissioner Malloy?
Yeah, I think for number 172, this is normally something I probably would have voted yes on, but I think when I read through it, some of the language, I'm not in agreement with some of the language in the justifications that were used for said amendment, and I want to make sure that prior to voting on anything, that I have accurate data to support whatever's being said in those recommendations. Specifically here, it was recommendation to engage in this, saying that the reason why we needed to was because we had removed SROs from our buildings, but there was no data in that explanation to support that. And I think that before we put our rubber stamp on something for the public, we want to make sure that we have accurate data out there in the community. So it will be a no for me on this tonight, but should it come before us with different language or amend the language, I would be willing to vote yes on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Any other questions? Commissioner Santiago?
Just a quick statement. I want to say, I brought up the concern, I believe like a week ago, about the police officers being at the football and the basketball games. And since I've had some conversations with some of our SSOs, and I would like to retract that statement because I've heard that our police officers are extremely useful at the football and the basketball games. But with that being said, I also, know that the police officers have not been effective on our campuses for dismissal and arrival of the students. And I've personally experienced that and seen that as they sit in their cars. And also the SSOs, some of the feedback that I've heard from some SSOs is that they haven't been effective neither. And so I think that, it'll be good to go back to the drawing board to see what is the actual responsibilities of these police officers. And also to see, how we can be effective in preventing and addressing the issues.
So let me respond to that question because they were doing exactly what we asked them to do.
You're right.
This board asked them not to get out, it was just to be visible. So we did not ask them that because many of us didn't want them to be in contact with our students. So it's not that, this board made that, and probably prior to you, but this board had made the decision, if we were going to have police, because a previous board had also said we didn't want police at all. And then last year, we, had negotiated with the superintendent that at least they would be a presence there. And the intent for that presence was to deter any kind of activity that may be going on. Now, that's another question now. So so now there's the question about, well, do we want the police to engage? Now, there may be another body that says, no, we don't want the police to engage. So it's not that they have done that. That's what we contracted them to do. So if there's something else we want them to do, then that's another conversation.
Yeah, and that's, that's partially what I'm saying, because I believe it has created confusion altogether, between police officers who even want to try to engage and create relationship, being signed up and having, some complaints put on their end. And me personally, I think that there's more effective ways than paying police officers who's already paid to patrol the area and be visible in our community because they're paid to do that. But I believe that it should just be more clear on exactly what is the role of our police officers while they're on campus.
Commissioner Griffin?
I just have to just say something about this. I don't usually say anything about the police being at the schools because I don't totally agree with it. But I will have to say and I want to applaud the police officers for the event that occurred at Edison because it was mayhem. And if they had not been there and been there present, then it could have been a lot worse. So I want to applaud them for being there and protecting the administration and the children and the staff because it could have been a lot worse. So they need to be commended for that. And if they are to get involved in further incidents, and then they're able to be like, we changed the rules and the guidelines, I think we're going to have a lot more backlash. I think we need to keep it where it's at. That's just my personal opinion. But I think they're doing what they need to do, and they're deterrents. They're there for a deterrent, and they're doing their job. And I think that if they were not at Edison last week, and I went up there to support the staff, and we just basically just watched and let everybody else do what they needed to do, but just to support the other commissioner, Commissioner Simmons, who is over that school, and they did an awesome job, and I just have to commend them and thank them because they are also out there to protect. They have other jobs. Their job is to protect the community as well. But when they're called to action to a school and they go that extra mile because those are our children as well, they need to be commended. So I want to thank you, and I thank you for protecting our children and our staff and our community.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffin. Superintendent?
Yes, so I just want to bring to light a few things. So once again, President Elliott said it correctly. This board was the board that put the parameters around the police just staying in the cars. And I want to encourage us to actually go back to the drawing board and talk about what does that possible form of engagement looks like. I want to remind the individuals on this day as the type of summer we've had. And we even woke up to some alerts this morning, about some of our high school age students. And I just want to really caution us, this is the last board meeting before the first day of school. We won't have any opportunities to start late and delay, but I want to encourage us all to continue to sort of reimagine what that engagement may look like. The mayor is definitely interested in hearing us out, but I just wanted to put that out there. And for Commissioner Malloy, I did write down your ask, and we will be sure that as we move forward, those data are provided accordingly.
Let me just go to Commissioner Santiago. I'll come back to you.
Yeah, and exactly what the superintendent just said is what I've been saying the past few weeks as I've been bringing up the issues on the police, that we have to go back to the drawing board and have a conversation on what are we expecting and what are the plans with that. And when I say go back to the drawing board, I mean include the community's voice into that. Listen to our students, listen to our parents, and also listen to the reality of our district. And so I've been saying that we have to go back to the drawing board to figure out what the plan is and to figure out how are we preventing and reacting to the violence that happens in the district. And there's ways to prevent and there's ways to react. And so I'd love to see us go back. And I'm going to vote yes because the first day of school is coming up. And I want to make sure that the buildings are covered, as students are coming in. And seeing that the reconfiguration is happening, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things to that. So my vote is going to be yes, but I think that we do have to go back to the drawing board and have community voice and people who understand safety to have a conversation on what are we truly looking at when it comes to this partnership.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Commissioner Santiago. And again, I had said I would vote yes on this with an amended language or amended language. I'm not against having police officers outside of our schools monitoring, and I've said that publicly again and again. I also voted, though, to remove SROs from schools as well. I didn't want the police inside of our buildings. I just disagree with some of the language and the justification used. I think we want to be really careful about the data that we're putting out into the community. It will be a no for me tonight because I know that we have the votes for this, it looks like now. I don't want us to start the school year off on the wrong foot, and I'm really aware of what's happening in our community. However, I don't like when there is incorrect data or what I believe to be incorrect data in an amendment or in a resolution or the justification documentation to that. I think that we want to make sure that what we're presenting, that the data is there to support whatever it is that we're asking for. And, you know, correlation does not equate to causation. And some of the language in there reflects that.
President Elliott, we might want to take a break because it's definitely not going to pass because Griffin has left. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. It wasn't going to pass because she left the meeting, so I'm glad she came back.
Thank you. And while Commissioner Griffin is getting to his seat, I would just want to say, let's be careful because the first time a police does something to one of our students, there's going to be some backlash there, right? And so if you've got police officers who does not know our community, so this has to be a balanced kind of conversation because I can see the community, these seats being filled if a police officer does something to our students. I remember when I chaired the Community and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and this was right after, I can't think of the man, it was the police officer, I think, that was murdered. And the chief of police, that had just happened, he came to the committee meeting. And we showed him that video of that police officer in school taking a girl out of her sleep and slamming her on the floor, right? Because she wouldn't give up a cell phone. So I just want us to be careful. And then you got a principal in there, or I mean a teacher, or an adult in there that allowed it to happen, right? So I just want us to be careful when we begin to enter into these conversations, the dignity, the safety of our students. And in that case, what happened is that she had just lost her grandmother and she needed a cell phone and came to the school as a safe place to be. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, and I want to make clear when I say going back to the drawing board, that doesn't mean supporting SROs. That doesn't mean supporting them in the school. It means let's get back to the table and figure out how we can effectively do this wherever that is.
Right.
You know, whether that is engagement, whether that's not engagement, but how are we truly preventing? And I know that the police officers are on the campuses, but we've still been seeing the fights at these schools.
Yeah.
We've still been seeing, so how much are they actually preventing it? So I think we just have to go back to the table with people who understand safety and our community voice just to see what's better options and what's ways that we could say this is our expectation and see how we could truly be effective on preventing violence.
And I don't want to have happen, I know with my niece, and I know my niece was getting suspended all the time. But they were, as opposed to going, somebody back there knows. But what happened is that they were sending her, instead of going to a counselor, they were sending her to the police officer for counseling. You can't do that. They can't be used as counselors, you know, so, and just, I hate that we've got to have police within our schools, that, you know, we have to have law enforcement where children are supposed to be learning. I know there are issues, but I bet you there's issues out there in the suburbs and they're not calling police out there. So that's my soapbox. Commissioner Griffin?
I didn't really have my hand up, but I think we should just go ahead. We need to talk about it and table it probably, if you want to. That's we can all.
We need to go, Commissioner, Superintendent, would you just share the need why we need to vote on it?
This is the last board meeting before the first day of school, and I just wanted to remind everyone in this room on this day is the type of summer that we've gone through in terms of, you know, just the amount of violence out there. But what I had said when you were out, there is a desire that we really reimagine sort of what maybe that looks like and sitting in the cars and things of that nature, that we should think about how that looks like or what that looks like.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I'm just saying, do we have to vote? Oh, okay, I'm for it, so I just.
Mike, can I just say, don't we have a meeting on Tuesday, a special meeting to consider resolutions? I'm just wondering if we.
No.
That's for the, HYA is gonna come and talk about the superintendent search process, and you all make decisions related to that. There's no resolutions on that meeting.
resolution to that meeting?
Well,
Just
if
to
we have the
correct the
votes, it's
language?
gonna, and I think we have the
Yeah.
votes
Oh,
to
I'm
take
just
it
wondering
through.
if
But that doesn't preclude you getting data as
Yeah.
well, so,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to know if we were voting on this so we can move
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. So all those in favor,
Aye.
Resolution 172 through 175, including Resolutions 2022-23-818 and Resolution 2023-24-886. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay for 172, but aye for all the others.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Is there a motion for Resolution 176 and 177?
So moved?
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Santiago. Any questions or comments related to Resolutions 176 through 177? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Did you oppose?
I said aye.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion for Resolutions 178 and 179?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments related to Resolutions 178 and 179? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I get a motion for Resolutions 180 and 181?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to Resolutions 180 and 181? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can I get a motion for Resolutions 182 through 186?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments related to Resolutions 182 through 186? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion for Resolutions 187 and 188?
So moved?
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. Any questions or comments related to
Yes.
Resolutions 187 and 188? Commissioner Malloy?
Yeah, on number 187, I'm just wondering, how has the impact on student academic progress been documented? What are the deliverables that have been achieved? And I need more data on those deliverables.
So just
Or if those are
quickly,
in the contract
just-
with this, because I know that they were under
Yeah.
an exemption.
all of our contracts ask for the deliverables, and what we will be sure to do is make sure that that's documented somewhere for the Board of Education. Yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in, Commissioner Patterson?
Yeah, I also have a question relative to that. I'd like a little bit more explanation. Again, therapy services, totaling 172,000. I think it says music therapy services. So, not that I want to take anything away from special education, but in order for me to vote on this or for this, I have to know a little bit more about it, what it entails.
So just quickly before I pass it to Deputy Turner, we are legally obligated to provide services that are documented within IEPs, and music therapy is one of those items that was asked to be provided for our students. Deputy Turner, you want to continue to expound upon that, please?
No, I think you said it very well. It's a mandated musical therapy service for students who have it required on their IEP.
Probably tell a little bit more about what music therapy does.
It uses music and musical instruments to provide therapy for that client.
So what does it help the client to?
It helps clients to focus, to calm down, to de-escalate various different treatments that it has, the effect that it has on the students.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other questions related to Resolutions 187 and 188?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just have to agree with the information noted here is just not clear. So I know we said that we were gonna make sure this information is clear, but if we could, that is so crucial, so we don't waste time on things like this and it is disheartening that we're still dealing with this, but actually, if we could get it prior to, we can go through this a lot faster. If we have all the deliverables on it and understanding, so we can ask all the questions prior to our meetings, that would be greatly appreciated. Because that would stop a lot of this, and we can go through and we can bundle and we can have all the questions answered before we get to this point.
Yep,
so
correct.
just-
And the information is provided in the executive summary, which is uploaded to board docs, and it states what the services are for and the licensed therapist that will be providing the service and the amount.
Yeah, and I see that, I'm sorry, can I speak?
It's still
President,
not clear.
Madam
though.
President.
I mean, it may be good for you. Maybe this is something we could talk about after. But I think that your understanding of something, Ms. Turner, is different than ours. So I think we need to get an understanding of what the actual deliverables we are looking at and what we're expecting versus what you have on this. I think that's what the confusion is. That
Commissioner
might be the
Patterson?
confusion.
All right.
And for me, I received a little clarity on this, and I think the key word is mandated. I think if you put that in there,
It's in the.
is it?
Yep, it's in the executive summary. It states that it's to provide mandated music therapy service to 100% of special education students whose services are indicated on the individualized education
Oh, okay.
plan provided by a licensed therapist.
Yep, I missed that, I apologize.
No problem.
So it is mandated, I'm going to have to vote for it because it is mandated. So thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of resolutions 187 and 188?
Aye.
Aye.
A nay for 187, but yay for 188.
And nay for 187 as well. But everything else is good.
Yeah, then we're gonna have to bring it back in a special meeting on Tuesday because this has to go.
I just want to just
Yeah, it's
personally-
mandated. It's
Yeah, I want
mandated.
to say something very quickly. I think
Okay.
that's pretty sad. You know, there's IEP students out here that need some musical.
And I think we don't need to attack
No,
other
it's pretty
people, but
sad
I would like
because
to
there's
say
kids who
something
need
here.
the therapy,
Compared to
and
all
it's
of the
mandated.
other
It's a sad
documentation
thing.
that's been provided us,
Wait. We'll just bring it back.
specificity
So don't
wasn't
worry
there.
about it. We'll just bring it back.
We just
Yeah.
asked for more information.
Yeah,
That's
all right.
That's
So
at the expense
yep,
of children's
don't-
education.
Commissioner
That-
Sanchez, that's
it really
fine.
is.
This is a democratic
Students out
society.
here with IEPs and they need support, and
put-
people voted no.
They need support.
Let's just
So bring
go,
it
move forward. So we will, so resolution 187 does not pass, but resolution 188 passes.
Yeah, can we just ask for clarification on the board log, specific information that is necessary so that we can bring it back prior to the start of those IEPs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Commissioner, Rahima, can you work with Commissioner Griffin and Commissioner Malloy to find out what that is so that they'll have that information? But we can also bring this back to get it approved, so.
We'll do that next
Yep, we've got to get it done, all right. Is there a motion for resolutions 189 through 192?
So moved?
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, is there a second?
Yes.
Moved by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 189 through 192? Commissioner Malloy?
Yeah, for number 192, I know coaching stipend, it says in the resolution that coaching stipends are, I know that's traditionally how it's been done, paying people at the end of a season. This was something that I brought up about a year ago. I was concerned about coaches having to wait until the end of a season to be paid, and the financial, I guess, the constraints that puts on people's lives to not be paid for an entire season, which can be pretty long, especially if they go through to the state level. I know that our prior superintendent had said that that was something that could definitely have been looked at, and then that it would be possible to pay people throughout the season incrementally. So I'm just concerned that I'm still seeing that in this resolution, and I want to ensure that our coaches who work really hard and give up a lot of their own personal time well beyond whatever it is that they're getting paid, want to make sure that they're paid in a timely manner, and that this is something that we look at as a district.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy, for your, empathy around this. I definitely understand. I think this is something that's going to have to continuously be looked at. It's not a quick change overnight. We also have to understand that there are deliverables that need to be completed throughout the season, which is why you end up paying them at the end of the season for the rest of their services. Now, we would probably need to be working out something between athletics, human capital, our teachers, so on and so forth, to actually figure out how that would look, how we would amend that. All I can say is I've noted that down, and I will continue to see how we can possibly have an alternative option.
All right. All those in favor of resolutions 189 through 192?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. They all carry. Is there a motion for resolutions 193 through 197, including an amendment to resolution 2023-24-841? Motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aye.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 193 through 197, including the amendment to resolution 2023-24-841? Commissioner Malloy?
On number 196, I'm wondering what the expected academic outcomes are specific to our goals, to the board goals, as well as evidence of effectiveness of student performance and how we're going to be measuring, what metrics are we using to see whether or not this was impactful on those outcomes. I didn't see any of that in the documentation.
That position at School 19 is part of our school violence prevention grant. And as you can see in the executive summary, it lists that part of that is to do violence prevention with those students. And we do have data that we can certainly submit through the board log that shows how many students they've met and the interventions that they're provided.
And this is certainly, I read through the executive summary, I always do. So I read through it, and I just am noticing that that executive summary compared to some of the other executive summaries that I've seen, some of the other ones that you submitted are really specific in that regard, but I just didn't see that same level of specificity for this one. This is a really important program. We obviously, school violence prevention is important, but I just wanted to see how we're measuring those outcomes as well. Did you have, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to further expound upon your request. I definitely really appreciate it, and it's really wrapped around student-focused outcomes. I want to remind us that there were a lot of shifts within the past month that I've already started working on to make sure that information shows deliverables that are connected with the student, the board goals. It's going to take a month to make sure that we really have those specifically tailored for you all, but do know that they are targeted to meet the specific goals that are listed.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's just the only reason I would ask on this is that this wasn't something that went through an RFP process. And so because it was given an exemption, I think that's information that would be helpful moving forward for commissioners on any resolution where there's been an exemption from the RFP process. If it's a contract that is over $35,000 and doesn't need to go through that RFP process, understanding why it was exempted through procurement, it creates a level of accountability that I would love to see moving forward. And that's just the type of information I would love to see on our, that I need before I can make a decision on something like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments?
I'm in agreement with that. I'm kind of learning here, but I'm in agreement.
Say that again.
I said kind of learning for me, but I'm in agreement with Commissioner Malloy on this one.
Any other questions or comments related to resolutions 193 through 197 and resolution 2023-24-841? Any other questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye for all but 196.
Okay. Let me get a Commissioner Griffin.
Aye, all but 196.
Commissioner Patterson?
The same.
Commissioner Santiago.
Aye for all the resolutions.
All right, and I'm for all the resolutions.
So
Is there a
196
motion for resolution?
So 196 did not pass.
It did not pass. So we'll
Yeah,
bring it back.
we should probably have a discussion, considering it's written into the grant. We would have to determine whether that money gets sent back or what the plan would be
We're talking
moving
about
forward.
Deputy Superintendent.
For this particular one, and it's tied to another grant, is 55,000.
So we're going to end up turning back if we can't get the approval for this, turning turning
It's-
back
it's-
55 grand.
Yeah, that vendor and those services are written into the grant for the last 10 years.
So we should have that documentation. Can you get it to us? Can you send it to us? Can it get to us? Because we have to do that one, they would have to do that one and the one that we just denied the other one
No,
as
if
well.
we can get the votes, it'll pass. So that's what we want to make sure tonight. And you can still get the information, don't misunderstand me. But even if you get the information, you may vote no. So we
No,
need
that's
to have
not
some.
true. That's
Oh, I'm just saying, I said may.
Yeah,
I said
and I
may.
think just clarity around
Yeah.
what is needed will be more than happy. Again, I just want to, just for my own clarity, the executive summary says how many students were serviced, how many students were seen, what the service was provided in those interventions. So as long as I'm clear, I can provide you whatever you need. We keep very clear data with our providers. The state requires, in order for us to have gotten this grant for the last 10 years, requires data points to also be submitted to them. So no issues with whatever is needed. I just need clarity as to what is being requested so that we can move forward hastily before school opens if we decide to revisit it.
That's clear, that's good.
Yeah,
I
Commissioner
accept.
Patterson?
Yeah, and again, I don't want to really stop anything either, but I was just concerned with the RFP process. You know, again, I've only been here 2.5 years, so it's a learning curve for me, you know, on some things that are brought to our attention on the dais here. But, so I haven't provided my vote yet. But again, if you could respond to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
If a vendor is written into a specific grant, then that vendor does not have to go through our RFP process because the grant is written, sometimes not always with a particular intervention or vendor, and then you don't have to go through an RFP process. So this was a grant that we've had, as I said, for over 10 years, written with 2 particular vendors, which is Center for Youth and Pathways to Peace, a small portion of it. So
I still don't think, Commissioner Patterson, that Resolution 196 will pass because it's 3-2.
I'm sorry, we had a sidebar, I'm sorry.
I don't think it'll pass because it's only 3-2. So it still won't pass.
Can we just make clear if we're going to revisit this?
Because
Because then this is also-
I'll talk with the superintendent about bringing it
This is
back.
also, removing help zones for students, there's.
And it's not about the help zones, actually.
IEP students are not going to get their education, and now there's no help zones for
Yeah,
the
but this
students.
is a democratic process, however it goes, and it goes. So let me just
Some of these
ask,
things
let me
are
just say this
mandated,
question,
so
though.
it's
Let me just say
interesting.
this question. What we need from you, Commissioner Malloy, is what is it that you specifically want so that when, or others, what they are specifically asking for in terms of evidence? Because if that information can go through, that if we know that and it's communicated, then we will already know it. So that may
Fantastic.
be something to talk with the superintendent about, and we'll move
I want
forward.
to pass this resolution, I really do. And I think I'm not questioning the value of the services that we need to provide for our students, but we just need more information. This executive summary was a little less specific than some of the other ones that I had seen in
Yeah.
the packet. And so I just need a little more information, but I'll do a sidebar with you and let you know what that is, and so we can revisit this immediately.
All right. Superintendent?
Yes, I also want to talk about what the board clerk has done to the process. She emailed the resolutions last week, and that would have definitely we definitely would have been able to have time to get that information if we had questions. And I just want to, put that out there. I'm hoping that we can really come up with strong processes so that we get you the information that you need. The goal is not to, have the banter on the night of.
Yeah,
but we
but
wanna be
yeah, so
supportive.
to the superintendent's point, what he's saying is that we've gotten some resolutions, before, so it's important, if there are questions about it, that email the superintendent if you have any more, if specifically that you want.
Yeah,
'Cause they don't know unless
specifically-
we tell them,
Yeah, and
so-
specifically, at last month at our business meeting, I had similar concerns about RFP processes as well as exemptions from RFP processes. I was very clear about that. And so moving forward, yeah, I read through all the resolutions in great detail. I value these services. It's not a question of whether or not I want our students to have these services, but I do want to have this information moving forward. Yes, the processes should probably be revisited, but I did bring this up, and I was told that I could not get data when I tried to put it on the question log, I would need to have at least 4 board members approve release of that data, because I was told it would take more than 3 to 4 hours of time to get that data. So when I'm told that, right, like I don't have it in front of me, and I don't feel like I have the access to what I need to make informed decisions.
All right,
That's
thank you. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, Deputy, quick question. So that grant is coming from who specifically for the Pathways to Peace and Center Youth? Is that from the state or the city?
Yeah, the state is the school violence prevention grant.
Yeah, and so it was specifically written into the grant. So the RFP question is out there. And so I just don't understand, what the direction of the board is. We speak about investing into students, but we see an IEP program that IEP students need fall. We see safety programs that students need fall. How focused are we on the students right now? And I just don't see that.
Yeah,
I just want to raise that concern because
But let
it's
me also
ridiculous to
say,
see.
in defense of Commissioner Malloy and Commissioner Griffin, there's information that they feel that they need that they don't have.
But it's
And
there.
we have to.
It's
yeah,
there.
well,
Everything that they've asked for is there.
No, there's something that they don't have that they seem to need. And so what we've got to make sure is that there's a process in place that it gets to them before. And to what Commissioner Malloy just said, that she had asked for some information and was turned down because they needed 4 votes. And so this comes up again. So it's a matter now of really understanding what the needs are from Commissioners Malloy and Griffin. Now, I'll also say this, if the information is not there, it's not there at the time for various of reasons, and we just have to say it's not there. And I guess at some point, it'll have to be created. But if they're not getting what they need in order to vote, that's just the democratic process. I understand what you're saying. I would wish it would pass too, but it's not. And the next thing to do, we've got 2 other commissioners that'll be back next week, and then we can see their votes on it. So in the meantime, resolutions, all of the resolutions passed except 196. Does anybody have a no on any others in this section? Resolutions 193 through 197, and then the amendment to Resolution 2023-24-841. So did I understand all of those have passed except Resolution 196? Is that correct? All right, let's move on. Is there a motion for Resolutions 198 and 199? Motion? I said resolution, I meant motion. Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Griffin. Any questions or comments related to these amendments on multiple policies, 198 and 199? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then we'll go down to resolutions 201 and 202. Is there a motion for resolutions 201 and 202?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Santiago. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 201 and 202? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that concludes our resolution section. And this is the first reading of resolutions, policy 7500. This is the policy, let me just say, Commissioner Griffin, this is the policy that we worked on that I had to leave, in your absences. So I'll continue to lead this one, and then moving forward, the other policies that you are able to lead. But since I started the leadership on this particular policy, I wanted to continue. So this is the first reading of the 7500. Any questions around the first reading? Any for the naming facility? This is where we want to make some changes to this naming policy. Any questions at this point on the naming policy? Am I doing this correctly?
President Elliott, there are a couple specific, I think, outstanding items left over from that meeting
Okay.
regarding the policy. One of those was, there was a consensus by the board that they wanted to increase the number of community members who need to sign the petition up from 100. Some commissioners suggested 200, others 500. So, a question for the board is there a middle ground? Is 350 a good middle ground? Do commissioners want to proceed with 350? Or is there another number in mind?
Yeah, I remember we did talk about 500. That's a lot of effort. That's sort of like doing petitions in some ways. So it's 350. The general counsel is asking if 350 is enough in terms of collecting signatures from 350 community members who reside in the city of Rochester, and they're residents of the city of Rochester. Commissioner Patterson?
So for me, what we already had there was 100 was fine with me, but if you want to throw in 350, that's fine with me too. But like I said, 100 would have been fine with me.
Are the other commissioners, so it sounds like 350 is a good middle ground to move forward with?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's not affecting, it's affecting student outcomes. At this point, let's just move forward.
Well, if you recall, this was,
Yeah, I do.
yeah.
I do, but I don't think it's that this is affecting the student outcomes, just changing the name. So I want to get past this because we have commissioners that need to leave, so we need to just move forward. That's what I'm saying, basically.
Thank you.
Not to rush you, but.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thank you.
So the second item was, most commissioners like the idea of a percentage coming from the school community, right? A specific percentage of those signatures. Do commissioners want to proceed with the proposed sentence that at least 50% should come from the school community, for which the renaming is being suggested, which could include current school staff, school alumni that are residents of the city, and at least 30% must be current residents or at least 30% must be current students or parents or guardians.
Yes, I think.
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Commissioner Griffin.
Yeah, I agree. That's fine with me.
Well, for me, I'm going to disagree. I think maybe 25% or 20%. And the reason I say that is because most of the people, and I'll just say this, most of the people who work in our school community don't necessarily live within the community. And so I wouldn't want to put it as high as 50% for me personally. I think that probably, I think that there should be some input from our schools, but not necessarily 50%, maybe 25%. And I just open that up to other people's input about what they think about 25% as opposed to 50%.
The idea is that percentage could include school staff, current school staff, and school alumni.
I still would like it to be lower. So I'd ask for anybody's input. Commissioner Santiago, we were talking about 50% of the members for, well, that brings up another point, because if we're talking about at least 350 community residents who live in the city of Rochester, they're residents. So 50% in terms of staff, many of them may not live in the city. And so we have to qualify it to say those staff who live in the city. So we may want to work on that a little bit. Yeah.
Just asking for how far we are in the process. Is this the second reading?
reading.
This is the first. Okay, then also, for any community members that's watching, we encourage you to come to one of the board meetings and sign up to speak so we can hear your thoughts on this policy.
Let me go to, Rahima?
I just wanted to clarify something. The 350 is just the amount of people who have to sign a petition. That's separate and apart from the percentage. So when I just heard you talking, you're
Say that
saying-
again.
So they're saying that 350 people need to
Right.
sign the petition. Of that, 50% would need to be affiliated with the school community.
Yeah, but then it also says 350 residents, City of Rochester residents. And so if you're talking about 50% in the school committee, many of them may not live in the city,
Yes,
right?
for teachers, for staff, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Patterson?
Yeah, for me personally, the teachers, even though they may not live within the city, they're still a part of our community, are still a part of our CSD family. And for me personally, we want our teachers and employees to live within the city, but realistically, that hasn't happened, and that's a high percentage of individuals. But to negate them and say, we don't want you to be a part of renaming a school, but we're saying we want to be in this all together, it really doesn't make sense to me that we don't make them a part of the process.
Yeah, let me just clarify. What I said was a reduction, not to eliminate them, but a reduction, not necessarily 50%. I'm suggesting maybe 25%.
Right. And
Because these, go ahead, General
I'm sorry,
Counsel.
President. So I don't think the intent is that 50% of it is intended to include staff, right? And I don't think the intent is that the requirement is that those staff would have to live in the city, right? But just that there's staff affiliated with the school. I mean, am I off on that, Clerk?
I don't know how
Clerk Ward?
both of what you just said aligns. I'm a little confused, because it's got to align, I would think.
So my understanding is the 50% is supposed to be comprehensive, right? It can include current staff and students, right? And those staff wouldn't have to live in the city.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can do this. We can, it sounds like there's not quite a comfort level with 50%. So, we'll take it back and, discuss maybe a reduction to, somewhere between 30 to 40%, something like that, and
25.
or 25 to 40%, and see if we can get some consensus from the board next time.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments related to the policy? Rahima, did you want to add something? I see you.
No, I just want to get clarity. So are we continuing to move this policy to the second reading as is?
Is that okay with everybody?
or
Move it to
y'all
the
saying you
second
want to
reading?
pull back?
Yeah,
your
am I,
discussion?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, got a consensus. All right, thank you. And I believe that is it, with the Commissioner's professional development as needed. Okay.
Commissioner Griffin has some policies under new business for first readings.
Okay, this is the first reading for the following proposed policy.
Why isn't it listed here?
Number 26 on your paper.
Okay,
I couldn't find it either.
thank
I
you.
just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. I
Okay, that's what,
apologize.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so the following proposed policy items are slated for the first reading tonight.
Commissioner
Policies.
Griffin, just 1 second.
Yes.
Do we need a quorum for this particular section?
Yeah,
They're not being
Be right
voted
back.
on right
No,
now,
no,
so
they're
it's just a
not.
reading. Yep, so I think it's fine. Yep.
Thank you.
okay. I do apologize. The first reading, the following proposed policy items are slated for the first readings tonight. Policies 0110, 2000 through 2111.1, 2300, 4205, 4206, 5000, 6000 through 6240, and exhibits 20 through -E4 and 6110-E1. The full title of these policies can be found in section 26A of tonight's agenda on board docs. Is there any questions? Is there any, does anyone have any questions in reference to these policies above? Okay, thank you, President Elliott. That concludes the first readings of policies for these readings.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Griffin. And so there's no executive session, and so I'm going to, well, we got to wait until we get a quorum to
Well,
adjourn, or do we
yeah,
need to?
well, technically, you can adjourn when you lose quorum, so.
Oh, okay. Is
I-
there a
I-
motion?
I wish the commissioner was here.
Commission,
Here he is.
we trying to adjourn and y'all out.
He couldn't.
No, I'm just teasing. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
By Commissioner Griffin, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're concluded the business of the Board of Education, and we'll say good night. Thank you.